Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's County Health Rankings and Roadmaps webinar short. So we're with you for 20 minutes, and the title of today's presentation is How to Craft a Quick and Persuasive Message with the 27-9-3 Rule. All right, so my name is Justin Rivas, and I'm a community coach with the County Health Rankings and Roadmaps program. I'm joined by my dear colleague, Ms. Mary Bennett, a fellow community coach. Mary will be chatting out a few links today, and she'll be helping with some questions at the end when we have a little time at the end of today's webinar.
Hello everyone. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to today's webinar. In the next 20 minutes we will do a quick dive into a tool for persuasive messaging called 27-9-3.
Great, thanks Mary. So the County Health Rankings and Roadmaps program is based here at the University of Wisconsin Population Health Institute, and it's a collaboration with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. We'd also like to acknowledge that this program is the result of the contributions of many colleagues and partners in Wisconsin and across the nation. So thanks to their support, we're able to bring you this webinar, or should I say webinar short, today. Okay, so first we just want to take a few moments just to get you all oriented to the technology we're using today. The GoToWebinar attendee interface is made up of two parts. On the left you can see the viewer window where you'll see my screen throughout the presentation with the slides. And on the right you'll see the control panel. Here you'll find the handouts for today's section, and a red arrow should pop up. Great. And under there you'll find a PDF of our slides today, a PDF version of the 27-9-3 worksheet tool we'll be using, along with a few other resources. You also find a list of the related links that Mary will be sharing throughout today's presentation. Down in the questions box, you can also interact with us through this part of the control panel. And please feel free to ask questions or share your thoughts and experiences with us via the control panel throughout our webinar today. We'll be sure to leave some time at the end for questions and try to answer as many as we can. You'll also see that we've made this an open webinar so that people can see each other's names and follow up individually if someone asks a question or if you're particularly interested or feel like you have a great response to help someone else out. Okay, so the 27-9-3 rule, right? It's a powerful messaging and it's focused really on the listener and not the speaker. So this means that developing a strong understanding of our audience is essential, and this tool today will help us do just that. So the 27-9-3 rule is a tool developed by M+R for creating an elevator pitch, right? Or a message brief enough that it could be delivered in the time it takes to ride an elevator with someone. M+R is a consulting firm that works with nonprofits to mobilize supporters, raise money, and move the media, the public, and decision makers. So the nuts and bolts really of the 27-9-3 rule require that you make your message in no more than 27 words that can be delivered in about 9 seconds with no more than 3 key points. So although this 27-9-3 rule seems simple in concept, it's not always so easy in practice, but that's why we're here today. So before we get into the tool itself, I think it's important to set the stage for why intention and intelligence behind messaging is so important, and perhaps even more important now than ever. So as a thought exercise, for a few moments, think about a time when you were the receiver of a message instead of being the deliverer. And this could be a time when you listen to someone trying to persuade you of something and you just tuned out. This could be from recent TV news coverage. It could be maybe the radio program you caught on your morning commute. It could even be from just a conversation you had with family, friends, or coworkers. So briefly here, just think about to yourself this situation in your own memory. And just 2 quick questions about it. Why did you tune out? And when did you tune out, or at what point? Perhaps you tuned out because the issue was not important to you, the message was too long and lacked focus, or you might have been put off from the get-go because the beliefs behind the message were different and countered your own beliefs. Some advice I received recently about engaging with people with differing belief systems was to step back, put myself in their shoes, and really try to take on their perspective to gain insight on what appeals or does not appeal to them. And this is back to the idea of tuning out. Messaging is the reason anyone should listen to what you're saying in the first place, care about your issue, and even be interested in supporting you alongside with your work you're doing. So we have 5 questions and we use this tool, and before crafting our message, it's useful to really think about these questions and trying to answer them very carefully. And all these questions are carefully related to who your audience is or your listeners. So first, in thinking about your audience, who is the audience for your particular message? Whether the decision makers you need to persuade are school board members, city councilors, county commissioners, or even business owners, try to understand their concerns and reframe your message in a way that respects their perspective. For example, a lawmaker, a volunteer, prospective advocate, donor, colleague from a different department, parent, or school superintendent. You may have some messages that will appeal to a broad audience, and you may have some that are intended for a very specific audience or even person. So I'm going to go back a few slides and share a message I created for you all as an audience today. And I developed this message using the tool, the 2793 tool, and it's a message about messaging. So I apologize if it sounds a little confusing, but here goes. Now is a time of significant policy change at the national and local levels. It's a crucial time to know how to effectively connect, engage to find common ground, and work together on issues that affect us all. So that's my message, and we'll come back to dissecting that in just a few slides. So back to the other questions we need to think about with our audience is we could think about their self-interest, because ultimately self-interest really guides us all. What might appeal to their direct self-interest? What's really in it for them? Or is there any way that you can personalize your broader issue to connect and resonate with them directly on a personal level? What will make them listen and be really engaged? Or really ultimately, why should they even care? The next question is about what you would like them to think. So what do you want them to think or really understand about your issue or your appeal? You might want the listener to think that, you might want to think about the listener and what they'll take away from the message, or what the listener will think beyond the present moment of you delivering the message. Meaning if you have just a brief 9 seconds to engage with your listener, what do you think they're going to be pondering on the backside of that? And hopefully, maybe what will they be thinking about in the longer term of your work? What's the broader goal that you're trying to accomplish? The next question is really about feel, right? And how do you want them to feel, or what do you want to evoke with your message? Is there an element of your message that can tell a brief story that will transform your listener into someone that is emotionally compelled to join your work? Now granted, this is quite a challenge to do in 27 words, but there is strong evidence that exists to support that a story that can evoke some emotional response, whether that's positive or negative, is more effective in getting your listener to remember the message. And this can be more effective than just sharing data or statistics in your message. And for all of our data folks out there, I know that's often something hard to digest, but maybe something important to remember. So lastly, and maybe most importantly, what do you want them to do after they hear your message? And this may be the most important part and is often called the call to action. So what do you want them to do? Do you want them to join in your work? Do you want them to pass a policy or an ordinance? Do you want them to talk to decision makers or maybe write letters to an editor? These are just a few examples. And next we'll look at a few types of messages and also a few specific examples. So let's go back to my message about messaging. The problem is that policy and change, and there's an opportunity to improve, right? And this is a solution. So we can look at these 4 types of messages, right? We could think of a message as being a problem message, right? So what is the problem that needs to be addressed? Right? We could think of it as being a solution message. So maybe we're providing the solution in the message, and this could be something that could be done, you think needs to be done, or is in the process of being done as well. The message could be strictly an ask, right? So you're going right to that call to action or your next steps. And it could be an urgency message as well. So why is action needed right now? And these 4 types of messages are in no way mutually exclusive, right? They could be kind of tied into your same 2793 message. So going again back to the message that I shared earlier, now is a time of significant policy change at national and local levels. It's a crucial time to know how to effectively connect, engage to find common ground, and work together on issues that affect us all. So does not only this satisfy the 2793 number framework, and I'll be honest with you, I think it's more like 30 words, and it probably takes about 10 seconds to deliver, but it also covers a bit of a problem. It provides somewhat of a solution. It's asking you folks listening to engage in putting time into message creation and delivery, and it's providing a sort of urgency as to why it's important to develop messages. So we'll go to just a few more examples to look at some other examples of messaging that's been done. So this is a 2793 message that is an ask for support for funding a specific policy. And it reads, adolescence is hard, but can be twice as challenging for teens with special needs. Targeted funding helps our state's 39,000 special education students meet their full potential. So it's providing a bit of data in terms of numbers. There's a specific ask, and it's also framing it on the importance of education for adolescents. So maybe a little bit of the feel component that we talked about a little earlier. So here's another example, and this one comes from the Wisdom campaign, which was called the 11 by 15 campaign, which was in Wisconsin, locally here, and it was working to cut the prison population in half by the year 2015. And this message is maybe speaking more to a direct person, or the direct interest in this case, perhaps of a senator or a lawmaker. And it's specifically talking, it's speaking to an economic argument about cost savings. And it's offering to really talk about that solution. And this one reads, Senator, we have more than 20,000 inmates costing over $1.3 billion for mostly nonviolent offenses. 11 by 15 could cut those numbers in half. It needs to be done. Right. So this one's a prime example of the problem, a solution, and a sense of urgency for sure. And here we'll look at the same issue of incarceration, but having it framed in a message that's not just to maybe a specific ask of a lawmaker. So what if we wanted to engage the public more broadly through a message on the same issue? So this message was used as an opening of an op-ed, because people often scan the first few sentences of an op-ed and frankly decide whether they're going to continue reading or not. And this one read, almost everyone in our jails and prisons will return to our community. Do you want them to be prepared to be a better neighbor or a bigger problem? And again, this one might be referring back to more of the feel component, but hopefully it'll have a more larger scale of broad engagement. All right, so there's a few examples and kind of the nuts and bolts of the tool. So now you're pretty much ready to craft a message yourself. This is what the actual worksheet looks like, and again, this is just a screenshot of the 2793 worksheet. It includes the questions we just reviewed slide by slide, and that can help you craft your message. We'll also provide this tool in the handout section of the webinar. Mary will chat out a link very shortly where you can find it on our website, where you can download the PDF, and you can also on the website explore some other areas in our Take Action cycle that are related to both this element of communications, and also you could dive deeper into some policy advocacy work. So maybe try it yourself. Set aside some time and try to use this Power Prism worksheet to craft your own 2793 message. Indeed, practice saying it out loud to someone and invite maybe their feedback. And your statement may sound very different than it reads, and most messages will be spoken, especially if we're delivering them in a short context. So you want to make sure your message actually sounds like something you would say out loud to another human being, whether in person or if you were leaving it on a voicemail. So you can go ahead and practice that on your own and revise based on maybe the feedback you get from your careful listeners. Next, we'll look at maybe a group activity using this tool that could be helpful, whether in your work setting or in coalition work or organizational work. So using the same 2793 tool, you could just pose this group activity with maybe 3 to 5 or 7 group members, and think about choosing your own audience, who your decision makers are, choosing your focus area or your issue, using the specific worksheet to work through it, and then write it out and practice it as a group, pitching it to each other. In general, this activity can take about 15 minutes, and we indeed have done this ourselves. So here at County Health Rankings, our Action Center team and coaches did this same activity to develop a message to explain our own work. Now this may not specifically be a problem or solution. Well, I think it is a good solution message actually, but it's a carefully crafted message to explain what we do in the Action Center. And it reads that the Action Center includes people, tools, practical resources to guide communities as they build healthy places for all to live, learn, work, and play. So it's a direct, short message, can be delivered in about 9 seconds, and doesn't incorporate too many ideas, 3 at the max. So speaking of those Action Center folks, we are indeed real people. So there's 11 of us community coaches that provide no-cost guidance for communities at various stages in their journey towards health improvement. Policy messaging and policy advocacy is an example of just one way we support local health advancement work. So there's a lot of ways we can help community. Here's a picture of our coaches who are strategically placed across the country from California to Colorado to Pennsylvania to Florida. You can usually reach out to the community coaches by clicking on the Get Help button located throughout our County Health Rankings website, and that'll help link us directly with yourself and any inquiries you might have. So before wrapping up and getting to questions, I wanted to invite you to consider just a few reflection questions on your own. Who else do you need to share this information you learned today with? And what is one idea for action that you're taking away from this webinar? I'm going to let you think about those or put those aside for yourself because I know we're running a little short on time and we do have a few questions trickling in. So I'm going to kick it off to Mary to read those really quickly.
All right, Justin. Yeah, this is great, and questions are coming in. One question was, why is developing a message important specifically, let's say, to coalition work?
Thanks, Mary. That's a really great question. I think messaging is crucial to coalition work because often the best part of coalitions is that you're engaging multi-sectors and bringing in folks from different fields perhaps and really having them hone in on a concise message they can all deliver individually and have the same message behind it is really important in knowing the drive behind their work and maybe what their problem that they're addressing is, the solution they're working on, and how they really want to deliver that in an urgent way. So that's a really great question. Thanks.
And a follow-up to that, I see we just have a minute or so, is why is messaging a good tool for an organization that wants to market their efforts but has limited resources? So how can this be helpful for groups with limited resources?
Another fine question, Mary. I think that's really important because especially as we're looking to do this good work in all different settings, the messaging is really is a low-cost option to marketing, right? You don't need to have a deep budget to pay for expensive marketing campaigns. You can really organically develop your own messages based on what's really important to you and your work, and then just kind of grassroots, you can deliver it on your own, learning how to have these conversations, kind of maybe step out of your comfort zones and carry on the kind of grassroots marketing yourself. So thanks for bringing that up. I think that was a really important message to deliver. Great. Well, Mary just gave me the signal that we're really close on time, so I'm going to cruise on. We have a lot of other good stuff coming in. We're going to try and respond to it via chat here or after the webinar closes out. But I want to just bring up that we have some other great webinars coming up. April 11th, myself and another great colleague, we're going to do the County Health Rankings and Roadmaps 101, which will be really that broad scope look at the program, diving deeper into our models and really a good explanation for those that are somewhat new to us. And then we have a really great webinar coming up as well on April 18th, and that's called Advancing Health Equity Through Strategic Partnerships, and that'll be hosted by another one of our coaches who's located regionally. So lastly, I just want to remind everyone to please stay connected, follow us at CHR Rankings. You can like us on Facebook, and please check out our e-newsletter as well. My buzzer's going off, so we must be really close in time here. So I just wanted to thank everyone for taking the 20 minutes to join in today. Please, again, you can find these webinars all on our website. We'll provide links to those so you can watch them in future time, and please share them with your friends and colleagues. So thanks, everyone, for joining in on this webinar short, and we look forward to connecting with all of you very soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.